diese Knopf.
Okay, I tried. My work now is to bring a little bit idea from the Therapiezentrum of Burgau, where I stayed now or work since 15 years. Before I worked in 3 other clinics. I'm an occupational therapist, and I worked since around about 25 years in the neurological neurological patients. And as you said, the history about the Therapiezentrum of Burgau and here in Saol is a little bit the same. And I think you are the brother of the guy who built up the clinic, a little bit brother in mind, or how you could that? Yeah, I think so. So I did talk about a little bit the history and then some samples. And here in the middle, you see Mr. Schuster. And Mr. Schuster, he is a father, and his daughter had an accident in around about 30 years in Augsburg. And this is Evi Schuster, his daughter, at that point of time. And 30 years ago, there was no chance to get a rehabilitation, no chance. Even human beings like her, they would stay in a nursing home. Every doctor said to him, there's no chance. She is like she is, she can take medicine, that's it. Leave it, or take it or leave it. And he said, there must be a chance somewhere. There must be a chance to keep on going. For sure, patients like this contract, it must be painful. There was no way to communicate, no way to move herself, no way to eat a little bit. So there was no way. And he said, I don't know, I don't accept that. There must be a way. And he's keep on going. And he then later on, he finds some therapists. But just to say a little bit about the clinic, that was the clinic in former days. There you see the old building. That was kind of his small hospital. And he bought that hospital or take one ward and started rehabilitation with, I think, his daughter, then 2 other clients, and then 10. And that somehow in Germany, there was no internet at that time. They heard there is a clinic with rehabilitation. And then there was a waiting list for 150 patients in between 1 month. But okay, there was just space for 10. And then he built up the next part. And now we have a clinic with 6 wards, including an intensive care, MIC, normal wards with tracheostoma, and 1 ward with phase C, that means apoplex, and people like this. We've got an interdisciplinary concept, that means more therapists, OTs, PTs, speech therapists like here. And there's a new part with the intensive care. So we often heard this morning, start the earliest you can, we do it there, and then step by step the next time. Yeah, going to the therapist, why do we have different kind of therapists or concepts? That's the history, because I show you Evi can't move, and at that point of time, Mr. Schuster finds, it's 30 years ago, I have to say that, Mr. and Mrs. Bobert, and they know how to move Eva on the left-hand side, right-hand side, stretch the legs. And Pat Davis, even a physiotherapist, she worked with them together. And she said, oh, you have to put a splint or a cast and then put it on 1 week, put it off, and so on. So I talk about history, because this is black and white. And other interesting point is that she's a physiotherapist or gymnastic teacher, and he's a neurologist. Yes, right. Neurologist. And they talk together. She does anything with the patient and said, oh, Carol, how does it work? I do this, and you have to explain it to me. So that's what I want to do, is to offer you take your chance to talk to the doctors. I do it. Is it right or wrong? What would you recommend? So this is really the basic point of building up an interdisciplinary team to start it. And for sure, it's not a problem only of movement. What Eva has at that point of time, she's always the problems of swallowing, speech, communication, and there is Kay Coombs coming into that party, because she worked with them together and sees, okay, when I move the hip, I can swallow. When I have this kind of hip and my head is like this, often, then it's very important to elongate the head, or is it the hip you have to elongate, that the trunk is more in upright position for a better position for swallowing. Because think about that when patients have got a problem with swallowing. So you have to cope this together. And third point, Dr. Affolter now, she's still alive. She's in the beginning of 19 now. So if I had a problem with being, with her awareness or her perception, for example, she could walk at any time. And then she stood in front of the stairs, but normally it was or would be possible to walk up, but she has not an idea. And she teaches then the therapist how to bring her, like we did it this week with another patient here, to give the patient the idea how to do it and what kind of principles you have to cope with this, that it's possible that he does it. And we did it this week. That was really, really great from the team here. Yeah, that was the reason that these three comes first in the concept. And with the combination of these three ones, Eva is coming from that point to this point. This David is standing next door to her. And later on, she, I show you what is ongoing with Eva nowadays. But only therapists, I have to say, think in the beginning in one line. You have to do that. But just to offer the therapist, be open. Look at not only your profession you learn, talk to colleagues, look at different techniques. We discuss about dynamic things or movement from the nerves. What kind of influence has the mobilization of the nerves in comparison to mobilization of the muscles? You have to combine it. But on which patient, in what position, with which aim? So a lot of questions, and our job is to find answers. And can you start the video from the TCB? It's just a very short video from the TCB, and it's just a very short story from Eva in the beginning. There is really another film called Meine Tochter soll leben. It's really interesting to see it, even it's in German, because there is a whole system of the family, because it's not only Horik that had an accident, or he had an accident, it's even the point in this case of the film. What about the whole family, the friends, the dreams, or whatever anybody has? So,
welches Video ist es?
Einleitung.
Darin 2022 ist das da?
Ja. And that's the film Einleitung.
Ich finde gerade deine Ton.
Doesn't care about that. I talk about the film.
Okay.
So, the film means that in the beginning you have Eva, as I show you the photo, and then nowadays there is a point that Eva is staying not in a nurse home. Mr. Schuster created a kind of Nachsorgezentrum. That means a place where you stay with other guys and girls together in a group, and then you have a daily structure. I can talk to you like this. And because you have daily structure, you go up in the morning, you have lunch, before you go to work, after you go sport or whatever. And that's what you do here. You go into the park right over there once a week or once a month. And this is so great what you practice here. You give a structure. For example, David. David is coming in the morning. He is in the morning there. He has a structure. And I have to say that it's your structure even as well. You have to go somewhere. You have to go to work. It's his work now. And this is very good to have this kind of.
Christiane, ist das Video?
Nope.
Welches willst du haben?
Einleitung.
Einleitung.
Means Einleitung.
Okay.
This is David. Yeah. So,
Oh, gutes
no,
Video.
that's Susanne, sorry. So I have a lot of questions. I have to say greetings to her, you know her. I show, yeah, yes, surprise, David. Yeah.
Wenn ihr das geschlossen kriegt.
Yeah, what I have to say is the daily structure, and it's a wonderful thing that you have to work
Christiane?
Yeah, that's
ganz Deutschland, wo Menschen mit erworbenen Hirnschädigungen wirklich geholfen wurde. Und verantwortlich für die Gründung ist ein Mann aus der Region.
So yeah, that's Iggy in the beginning. That's before the accident, and there it is with just a report. I show you the photo. His flexion in her hand, problems in the legs, and yeah, as I said, the planning. What's going on afterwards? A lot of politician, a lot of money has to raise, like funding and all that stuff. What you are doing here, and this is the case she lives now, and. In this Therapiezentrum Augsburg, this is kind of group, and the therapist near behind her, and she's still my age, roundabout, and she talks to her about her dreams. What does she like over the day? And she likes to go in the garden, and they have a group with some others and therapists, and they go into the garden, try some things what they can do. And another dream she has is supporting by cooking. She likes to eat, and she likes horses. Her dream is having an own horse, not going to horse therapy, having an own horse. And another dream is perhaps staying on her own with less help than there. So her dream is even in this time getting one step forward. And now back to the clinic, we have here the intensive care, and there's a nurse and a therapist just sitting up. We heard the point that you have to start very early, sitting position, standing position, working together, even botulinum and neurotoxin. There is the points we heard that standing is very important. That's the same before sitting. Even for blood pressure, lung, breathing, all that stuff, all these points. But it's really important that the nurses and the therapists think about the same theme. And this is Dr. Bender, and he's talking about how the SBI, TBIs, and what kind of patients are coming. So the neurological ones, that was just a film. And now again, Mr. Schuster. And now he's 30 years older than in the beginning. And his idea is always getting one step forward. Thank you. And now we are a team. That's just an example, having a team. I, for myself, I would be lost showing you a video, but together, yes. And he always thinking, what is coming next? How do I finance it? How is the responsibility or whatever? So you have always keep on going, because now it's too late to stop. You are just in the process, and there's it's just a way to kind of go forward. And das kann ich wieder machen. That's another team to say, okay, I need your help, but now Perhaps I can do it on my own or not.
2 seconds up.
Yeah, but the interdisciplinary team is that you have every profession that you need at that point of time. Somehow, in the beginning of my profession, I thought everybody needs occupational therapy because occupational therapy is the important thing, the most important thing. You look at Bettina, she said, no, it's physiotherapy. Or the doctor said, my medicine, that's the most important thing. It's when you integrate everything at that point of time, the patient needs. It's not you as yourself, it's the patient. Ever think of that? Because here the patient is in the middle. And I think often people forget that. That's not yourself. Yeah. And back to the concepts, I say in the next concepts, how do we integrate it? And now I need my team to get to the next step. I can't do it my own. With just little help than before. Before it was very huge help. Now I can have just a little help.
That's something you can do on your own.
Yes, I think so. So that's this rehabilitation. Yeah, then we have the 3 concepts, like I said before. But keep on going. What is the next step? And then we have tried this time the positioning in a different or in a special time. And then the next point, perhaps carry it over. Just don't just position it here. So what is it important or is it useful for the patient doing it at home, perhaps? Or when do it cost? When is the point of robotic? At which point of time the easiest, or when is it realistic? When do you have the themes? And then afterwards, all these things you know, or you have to know and put it together. And what we find in our clinic was very good was to have different kind of specialistic teams. And I have to say the best team in my experience is to have a team with different kind of not only therapists, that's one theme, the dysphagia team and the spastic team. These are the teams where doctors, nurses, and therapists are together. And in my way of, or in my opinion, that's the best team because they're coming different points together. The other teams, it's okay, but robot therapist is for therapists mostly, and for nurses. But the doctors are not so interested because they're handled with other things. And so keep on going that everybody has the opportunity to get the knowledge. Yes. And another point that you know it, but just to think about that when you work on structure, you have to have in mind for what you use the structure. Is it for just sitting? Or do you want to press a button or drink your tea or eating the sandwich? For what you need the structure in the activity for participation right over there talking before. When you can't participate, you have no activity, you can't participate. That's right. And I mentioned before, while my team is working for me, that the context and factors are very, very important. What's the hobby from Patrick, from David? What is the favorite thing they want to do? Do they like music? What kind of? And so on. And just an example how we do it in the clinic. There I work on structures, like I said before, for having the range of motion to work on the activity going from the wheelchair to the bed or to the bench, for going into the garden and grabbing apples from the tree or whatever. So I have to work on the limit and have these 3 points in mind. And you know the clinical reason that you always collecting information, make analysis, have the hypothesis, what is going next. working on the goal, make your plan, but then treat, differentiate, collecting information, and then the circle is going around. So this is your way of working, you know. Just old photos from this supine position. Avoid this position. I often see it everywhere, even at home or whatever. Avoid that, because in this position, you can try it. When you go back, open your mouth, it is not possible to swallow. Everybody knows, but avoid it. And here, just one pillow under the head, but better would be when you put it a little bit up, even for the breathing, swallowing, and all that stuff. And it's just a small example, you know it, but perhaps more pillows right over there. I take one. And perhaps some blankets or whatever to put patients in side lying, or support a little bit shoulders and head for breathing and swallowing. Otherwise, they would just lay in one position. We talk about goals, that it has to be important for the patient. You know that. Just another possibility, sitting position, we already mentioned that, but as you said, but I just want to point out that you can make the best therapy, walking sessions or whatever, when the patients are sitting like this afterwards, forget it. You can just forget it. You have to look closer point, what is with the patients afterwards. So look about in what position they are, and if everything is in line. Everybody knows that I always look in lines. Or how do you sit? Just to mention this. Just an actual example from a young patient, and it's so easy. At his point, we just add some towels, and then he has an upright position. It's there in the middle than before without towels. And we already mentioned that it's very possible or very important to stand and all these points. But just to add another point is you can combine standing with a daily living activity. Then it makes sense. It makes sense to stand here, but what for? I'm standing here because I want to talk to you, and not for my blood pressure or for my joints. I want to stand perhaps a little bit like this, because otherwise I get tired, but I'm now in the position that I get not tired, move myself, but I talk to you. So when you stand with the patient, make this next step, perhaps comb the hair, or just put like the hands like this, or think about the next step in the standing position. Could be more effective or make sense for the patient. Just to add that. We have that. And another small example for the video. I want to introduce you a 30-year-old. I make now the first step, take escape. So I learn from the point before, and now when you want to show you the video from the young patient.
Auf dem Trainer.
That may I have a look. Yeah. Normally when I go to the slide, yeah. And when I press the button before, dieses Ding, was ich machen konnte.
Okay.
Ja, genau. So.
Welchen willst du haben?
Nee, der ist da nicht drauf. Macht nichts. Okay, ich tue mal.
Welcher war's denn?
In der Präsentation davor konnte ich drauf gehen.
Das sind die alle da.
Doesn't matter. So I just want to point out that in this case of time, it was a young patient, 30 years. Yeah. Oh, okay. It's an easy patient. It's not so, he's 38 years. And I use the robotics in a different way. So normally it's forbidden going into the GU without a bed. So nobody sees it, hopefully. But I want to have more space with him, and I want to give him the task that he can care for himself. I know he could it, but he doesn't know it. And so we work on the legs, we shift the weight. He can use in front the scene to see where his weight is. And what I wanted to say with this kind of video is, you are the boss who cares and works with the robotics. The robot is right over there, but it's your way that you work with it. You can use it in different ways. You can climb over things, you can put something on or not, you can build the task or not, and yeah, you can get it. And there we make a kind of splint because he has kind of unstable joint. And with this stable joint, we did it in this week as well. It was more possible that he can stood right over there. And yeah, just to mention, you can use whatever you want, but think about to do it in a creative form. And that's really good. And afterwards, then the next step would be going out into the garden, because he has 2 children, and with these 2 children he wants to play. That was his aim, to play with them, and he had a pressure, financial pressure, because he bought a new house, he had a job, he's on paychecks, and his colleague said, okay, you had a stroke for sure, but when do you come back? Because our next patients are waiting. So very much pressure, even from the point coming back, earning money, even for the house and all that stuff. Even for the family being the strong guy to be the husband and be the father as well. And how you can deal with these points. Yes. Going yeah. So just to have this. So as a therapist, not only work on the muscles, see the patient in general, with the system, with this ICF points I mentioned, with families and so on. And I just want to give from Susanne that she was the lady in between. And she's really a hard lady, I would say. So, even for therapists, she's nearly the same age than him, 35, and 10 years ago she had a bad accident. And she's not so concentrated, and her voice is not normal, and her movement is not normal. And as a therapist, it's hard to work with her, but she's a lady that gives often a kind of, I don't know what she's figuring myself as. She's keep on going every time in her way of life. And see, that's her arm, and I say greetings, Patrick, because they know each other. They were there in the GU, and Patrick, I have to say from Susanne, don't give up. Everything's possible, and you just have to believe in and try it. And don't think about where's the next step. Not going, look forward, build up a network. Where is one way? Because of that we are here. And yeah, so we keep on going and build up a network. Try to find solutions. That's what I say to you. And you have such a good team here. You've got a lot of things around. You have a boss who support you, and other people, even friends and families. And so look forward what you have and take the next step. And that's what even I work a lot on the Bobot concept. Karl Bobot said it depends on every person. Rehabilitation is effective when executed by a dynamic thinking therapist, not only making this, so dynamic thinking, knowing how to bring adrenaline and flow. So we were on the steps, for example, with somebody who's not allowed or whatever, but thinking about this activate thing and don't stop thinking. Thanks a lot that I'm coming. And now, Bettina.
No, thank you very much. Yeah, just stop this here for 1 second.